husky.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes on. It takes some time to say goodnight. You close your eyes to dream next thing. Tomorrow's here again.
It's a brand new day, never hold on to hate. Cause you was placed here to be great. Please take your place. All queens got a seat at my table. Cause without y'all, then the man ain't able. Melanated queen, connected to the universe. And so I gotta thank my mom for my birth. If hate is the curse, then love is the remedy. So I send you love no matter creed or identity. Until infinity, look at you like you kin to me. Even when we disagree, yo, you still kin to me. In other words, I can't bring you no trouble, can't bring you no beef, don't wanna see you deceased. Now if I'm coming at you, I'm coming with a business plan. Cause every day I'm on some, yo, let's get this money, man. Yeah, and that's my real plans. I rest my head at night, I wake up, I got another plan.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes on. It takes some time to say goodnight. You close your eyes to dream next thing. Tomorrow's here
It's a
again.
lot of high rappers tell me why we don't get money together, but we'll kill each other over whatever. Running down the freeway, we gonna own down. If Black Lives Matter, why we gonna own down? That's why they laugh and they think that we clowns. They hear what we say, but see how we get down. We gotta change that now, right now to be exact. Cause hurting that man's moms is not where it's at now. Old school, new school, need to learn, yo. They put us in groups so they can make more dough. The young versus the old versus the young. Black versus white, you see the pattern, right? No unity, keep them all on some gutter-ish. This way they don't prosper and get rich. Yo, can't you see it's a trick? Just open your third eye and you'll see the full view of it. Now yo, what if the powers that be know that the real power lies within the people? That's us. And what if they using things like crayon colors, black and white, to separate the people? Hey, yo, you gotta wake up. Don't let them fool y'all. Spread love.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes on. It takes some time to say goodnight. You close your eyes to dream next thing. Tomorrow's. Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes on. It takes some time to say goodnight. You close your eyes to dream next thing. Tomorrow's here again. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
All right, good morning, y'all. You know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. We are about to get into it. Hopefully everyone is doing well this morning. Hopefully you guys are happy on this Friday. It's Friday, y'all. Let's go. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. All right, I see the ones in the chat. We should be good to go. Let me see how we looking up in here, though. We should be looking nice. Ooh. Looking all crispy and clean on the screen. Welcome, y'all. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of the Music Morning Show. I'm your host, ClassE Beats of ClassEbeats.com. Today, we're going to be reviewing some of the things that happened during this week's court proceedings in the YSL trial. Also, we've got some new Diddy updates for y'all. I know yesterday was a tough day with some of the things that we heard. Oh, man. 120 plus new lawsuits coming out against Diddy. This is going to be a whole mess, but we're going to get into it here in a second. Let me say what's up to the people first of all, and let me give a big shout out to my guy, the Bishop, for kicking off the show the right way with the Music Morning Show intro. Appreciate you, man. Shout out to you. We've got the awesome, amazing Amy is up in here. Y'all know bright and early. Shout out to Mary Callie is in the building, says good morning, new sub in the building. You have had me hooked since finding your channel. Shout out to Mary Carey up in here. Thanks for the great coverage. I listen while at work. Thank you for being here. We got Valencia in the building. Young Drez is up in here. Nicholas is in the building. BG Chantel. The Honorable Attorney Kel Bell is back at it. Mr. Spiffy, I see you. Jasmine, Rashida, Oki. Shout out to Oki in the building. All right. We've got Chandra up in here. Christina is in the building as well. We've got Just a Girl and Her Dog, one of my favorite usernames. That's amazing. Kimberly Lindsay is in the building. Lunachick, Donkeys is in the building. Shout out to Donkeys Noggin. Joy Peace is in the building as well. Melissa's in here. We've got Vonnie. Oh my gosh, we have a ton of y'all. Kissin' Pink is in the building. Shout out to Kissin' Pink. Aaron's in here. We've got Tanya, Kyrese. Shout out to Auntie. We've got Tammy in here. S-Car is in the building too. Says, does anyone know why YSL is not being televised? Okay, so S-Car, I think you're asking why Trial isn't live right now. Yeah, they're going to be back on Wednesday. I think it has something to do with the holiday and maybe a couple other things that are going on in court, but nothing too crazy as far as I know. Our Hearts with Arts is in the building. Woo, we've got Voodoo is up in here. I see you. Wave Laura is up in the building as well. We've got Semprum is in the building. Good to see you. Roxy is up in here. Pray, Press, and Proceed Customs up in here. Steve, Danielle, Walter. All right. And LD, I see y'all in here. I think I got most of you. If I missed you, make sure you say what's up in the chat. If y'all could do me one favor, that would be absolutely amazing. If you could, make sure you like the video on your way in. Not only is it free, not only does it help the channel continue to grow, but it lets the YouTube algorithm know that you're enjoying the show, and it shares the video and the channel with more people. So if y'all could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and get into it. Now we're going to do a little bit of a recap and a rewind. There is some cross-examination from Max Shardt and Keith Adams that I missed on day 138, which I believe would have been Monday, if I remember right. So anyway, we're going to go back and cover some of that because I didn't get a chance to react to it. So we got a couple things there. We're also going to talk about some new news that came out about Detective Gaither, or the retired Detective Gaither, and her job might be at risk. I don't know if y'all heard. We're going to get into it. And then, as I mentioned, we got a couple things we're going to talk about from Diddy, and we may go back and listen to the FBI agent that was on the stand on Wednesday. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to go right back and rewind a little bit to earlier this week when Max Shardt was cross-examining our guy, Mr. Sprinkel up here, the professional of professionals. So we're going to go ahead and skip back and get into it here in just a second. Y'all check it out.
Okay.
And then video outside the Texaco.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask the same question since you volunteered that Mr. Copeland is not on the Texaco video. Mm-hmm. Do you see Mr. Shannon Stillwell on the video outside the Texaco?
You do not.
Okay. Now, as part of an investigation, leave you out of it. Part of an investigation is to obtain surveillance video, correct?
Yes.
And now when you take over, you said January 2016. I'm saying take over. Maybe that's not the correct word. You became involved January 2016, correct?
That's correct.
All right, that's a year after this incident.
That's correct.
Max had Sprinkle shaking too.
Is it fair to say that over a year's time, things can happen with surveillance video, the availability of surveillance video, that would make it difficult for someone taking over a year later to uncover surveillance videos that had not been retrieved yet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Surveillance videos they're just stored on computers, and eventually, but they don't have infinite storage, so there's a retention period that's oftentimes very short. It can be 48 hours to 2 weeks, but a year, I wouldn't think that you'd be able to get surveillance video after a year from anywhere, unless the people that maintain the video just like preserved it on their own without the prompting of the government.
And in a situation like that, the expectation of obtaining pertinent surveillance video would be on the original investigators, not someone taking over a year later like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, maybe particularly back then. I mean, maybe now with all these private company, well, companies like Ring, maybe they retain their video a little bit longer, but like a gas station where they just have the storage mounted inside their facility on like a hard drive, yeah, you're not getting video after a year, unless, like I said, they took
after
the
a
initiative
year.
on their own to preserve it.
And these time limits they're known to law
Interesting.
enforcement. You know about these time limits, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's not a secret.
No.
Okay, and that's why it's important to obtain surveillance video quickly in investigation.
Yes.
This could be pertinent. Okay, so Green Store. You know that is Mommy's Grocery on Glen Street, correct?
That sounds right. I'm familiar with the Green Store. I can't recall the specific address, but that sounds right to me.
A minute from the barbershop.
Okay, I don't know if it's quite that close.
Okay. Question that I have.
What's up, Sean?
When you took over this case and reviewed the statements, you became
Gang,
aware
gang.
that Kenneth Copeland placed himself at the Green Store, according to his rendition of events, at the approximate time of the shooting. correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Misstatement and of the
Can you
facts.
rephrase?
Kenneth Copeland placed himself, upon your review of the work that had already been done on this case, you became aware that Kenneth Copeland, in his statements to police, placed himself at the Green Store at the approximate time of the shooting.
Wait, placed himself at the Green Store. Again, I don't know, because the thing, he wouldn't have, during his statement, he didn't know the exact time the shooting occurred. So I don't know that he would be able to say that I was there when the shooting occurred.
I know, but you have reviewed surveillance, and you've reviewed the times. And what I'm asking is, did Kenneth Copeland place himself at the Green Store, to your knowledge, at the approximate time of the shooting?
So if the 911 call was at 7:22 p.m., which I believe it was, from what I recall, Mr. Copeland's cell phone tower logs placed him in the area of the Green Store starting at about 7:26 p.m.
Okay.
In the
So
area.
within 4 minutes of the shooting,
Always
he's
gotta
claiming
keep that
he's
in
at the
mind.
Green Store.
I don't know if he claimed that. That's just what I found in his cell phone records. I don't know if he was actually at the Green Store at that time.
Did you not listen to his statements that he gave?
I did.
His June 10th statement. Okay. Let me just ask you this.
But I just don't know if it was that specific where he said, this time I was at the Green Store. This is based on my review of his cell phone records, trying to piece together his timeline outside of the interview.
Okay. In your review of the case file provided by Detective Thorpe, did you ever see any surveillance from the Green Store?
No.
Did you ever make any efforts to obtain surveillance from the Green Store?
No.
Okay. McDonald's on Cleveland Avenue. I'm going to ask the same question. In the case file provided by Investigator Thorpe, did that have surveillance from the McDonald's on Cleveland Avenue?
It did not.
Okay. Did his documentation ever document a reason why that wasn't included?
I don't recall. I believe I just don't know. I don't know why it wasn't included.
As part of your investigation, albeit after a year, did you ever obtain any video from McDonald's?
I didn't.
All right. One last thing. Do you have your report in front of you?
I do.
Okay.
Fix my camera.
As part of your investigation, I think you testified. Well, let me ask you this. Your role with the DA's office, it seems since 2013, has kind of been a dual lawyer/investigator role, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You're not in standard courtrooms necessarily litigating cases. You're doing more investigations.
I do the preliminary hearings on the murders, but yeah, for the most part, I'm just investigating cases.
Okay. Now, as part of your role in this special role within the DA's office, have you obtained training about forensics and evidence collection and things of that nature?
That's a broad question. I've been to there. Yes, I have attended training and CLEs and that kind of thing. Maybe a little bit more specifically.
Okay. You're familiar with gunshot residue?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the places gunshot residue can be looked for is someone's hands, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And hypothetically, if I were to hand or fire a firearm,
Objection, Your Honor. This is improper for this witness.
Why is it
That's
improper?
a foundational objection.
I'm going to ask him about the work he did in a second.
A
Yeah, he
hypothetical?
did.
I'm just getting there. Okay, well, forget about the hypothetical. Can you test someone's
It
hands
was his job.
for gunshot residue?
Yes.
Okay. And the time window for testing someone's hands for gunshot residue is
Objection, Your
very
Honor.
limited, correct?
At a foundational.
Objection, yes, there is a foundation objection. Thank you.
Sustained.
Do you, as part of your job, do you seek out search warrants to obtain evidence in criminal cases?
Yes. Well, I draft them and review them with the DA's office investigators primarily, and then they seek them out as the affiants.
So much like a homicide detective, you're able to look at a scenario, decide what sort of testing you would like on a certain piece of evidence, and then have the investigators that work with you draft such applications for a search warrant.
Yes.
Okay? And certainly, as in this role where you're seeking evidence, you know about the rules of evidence collection and what can be collected and the timelines that it can be collected in?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor,
That's funny.
I'd move to, I submit that ADA Sprinkel is an expert in gunshot residue collection.
No, I don't think that's been established.
Okay. Did
Come
you
on,
seek
Max. He was trying
gunshot
it.
residue testing in this case?
Well, I certainly contemplated on one specific item, but that ultimately didn't work.
Well, you in fact drafted a search warrant.
I did, yeah.
So let's go back. Hands, there's a limited amount of time that you can search for gunshot.
Objection, foundation.
You need to establish that he, if you can, whether he knows that.
Do you know about the timeframes general as they apply to the collection of gunshot residue off of different types of objects?
No, I don't know that it's static. I don't know if it's, the
Yeah, I like the video.
particulate matter that is expelled from a gunshot just dissolves after a certain amount of time. I don't think that's how it works.
Right, it remains.
Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding, is it remains.
Unless there's some external force that removes it.
Like sweat or washing your hands or something like that?
Objection,
right?
Your Honor, foundation.
Sustained.
Okay.
Leading as well. Come on, Max.
The rules for those timeframes are different from hands to other objects.
Objection, foundation.
Sustained.
On May 9th, 2016, well, you were following up on, with Hertz Rental Car about the Infinity, correct?
It would have been around that period. I don't remember if that was the specific day, but that sounds about right.
Okay, and through investigation, you were able to determine the actual VIN number of the Infinity, correct?
Yeah, I believe it was within the records that is Hertz sent us.
Okay, and on May 9th, 2016, you located that actual car, the Infinity, correct?
Not me personally, but investigator, well, maybe I figured out where it was. Somehow or another, we figured out it belonged to a private citizen in Mississippi.
Miss Cleveland, who lives in Como, Mississippi, correct?
Irma Cleveland, yes.
All right.
Dang, she got
And
her
you
car got
confirmed
snatched
that
too.
the car, the physical car, was in fact in her driveway on her property, correct?
There's some law enforcement officer drove out there and photographed it.
Okay. And on May 31st, 2016, you would agree that is 1 year, 5 months after the Donovan Thomas shooting, approximately 1 year, 4 months?
Yes, that's about right.
Okay. After finding this Infinity in Mississippi, you drafted a warrant, a search warrant for a search of the Infinity, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, in that search warrant that you had drafted, you were looking for two things in particular, correct?
I remember gunshot residue was one of them, I believe, and also some data from the computer system.
Right. You were interested in extracting the contents from the computer system of the vehicle, the Infinity.
That's correct.
And you were also interested in a search for gunshot residue from the inside of that Infinity, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you specify what parts of the car that you were seeking to have search for gunshot residue to have wiped?
Well, I don't have the draft in front of me, but I would imagine the headliner, the cloth that kind of, that is affixed to the ceiling of the vehicle.
Why would you have chosen the headliner?
Just in my experience, that's traditionally what's analyzed for gunshot residue inside a vehicle.
It's made of cloth?
It is. Well, I usually, I guess now that you mention it, I don't know for a fact that the headliner in this particular vehicle was made of cloth.
Okay. And it also would
Mr.
be at the
Sprinkle's the
top of
man.
the vehicle where the particles are likely to shoot up when the gun is expelled, correct? Or
That's
when it's
correct.
expelled. Okay.
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, relevance. 403.
Sustained as to foundation.
Well, as the drafter of the search warrant, you felt the place to look for gunshot residue was the headliner of the vehicle.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Asked and answered. And
How do you answer it if you
Because
sustain?
You didn't answer the last one because there was an objection.
And
You can
foundation.
answer that.
Come on,
You thought the
lady.
headliner was a good place to look.
Yeah, I don't know if in the search warrant I said only take out the headliner. It was probably broad
Jeez.
enough to allow the law enforcement agents to be executing the search warrant broad latitude in the surfaces that they analyzed.
And you were interested in having this search for gunshot residue inside this vehicle done, even though 16 months had passed since January 10, 2015, correct?
That's correct.
No further questions. Thank you.
All right, are there any other defense counsel? Mr. Weinstein?
Yeah, that was a quick cross for Max, but that was the part 2. We got Mr. Weinstein up here.
Good afternoon, DDA Sprinkel. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I believe we met once before, but my name is Doug Weinstein. I represent Diamante Kendrick.
Okay.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
So you've had some testimony today about people's general location with respect to cell tower, cell tower data that you collected, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
And for a cell tower, you generally have, for example, in some towers, you know the tower and it might have 3 antennas, each of which, for example, have a 120-degree arc, correct?
Yeah, that's the general rule. Yeah.
And so when you're locating people, when you testify to that, you're testifying about their general location because of the antenna that it's hitting, correct?
That's correct.
But you don't know the actual location of that cell phone, or even if it's within that 120-degree arc, do you?
No, you don't know. Well, there's a good chance it's within that 120-degree arc, but the exact location within that arc, no.
When you say a good chance within that 120-degree arc, I mean, you went to Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah.
In the engineering school?
No, public policy.
So you never took, for example, fields and waves over in the EE department?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And so, but you're not aware that electromagnetic signals bounce?
Well, I'm generally aware of that, yeah.
Okay. Just like, if you shoot a basketball up at a basket and it comes down from the backboard, it doesn't mean the person shooting the basketball was behind the backboard, right?
Right.
Okay. So when you say that
Interesting line of
someone's located at a
questioning here.
particular location, that's just because of where the antenna is, right?
That's right.
Okay. You also testified earlier, and stop me if I'm wrong, that you attempted to interview Mr. Copeland, correct?
Well, I desired to. He had an attorney, and ultimately, it just didn't happen. Like, there was no interest from that side in allowing for the interview.
You desired to interview Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
You reached out through his attorney, correct?
If I remember correctly, well, yes, it definitely would have been through his attorney, and all I know is it just never happened. I can't
Interesting.
recall exactly what the conversation was, but I do know it never happened.
Did his attorney say, yeah, Mr. Copeland would love to be interviewed, let's
Objection,
make
Your Honor.
a date for that?
Sustained. He just said he didn't remember.
Okay. Let's jump to one more thing, and then I'll be done. The gas station video from the Texaco, the one that's exterior to the gas station. How many times would you say you viewed that video?
Wow.
Roughly.
75 to 100 times.
And you saw someone that you believe to be my client, Diamante Kendrick, right?
Yes.
And you saw him in the Pontiac Bonneville, correct?
Yes,
And you saw the Pontiac Bonneville pull out of the gas station.
I did.
And Mr. Kendrick was in the Bonneville when it pulled out from the gas station, correct?
He was in the driver's seat.
Of the Bonneville.
Yes.
He was not in the Infinity, correct?
He was not.
Thank you.
Any other defense counsel?
Interesting.
Questions from this witness? Nope. Okay. Is there redirect?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
All right, we got a little bit of redirect now. I know y'all just relax, all right? I know it's Miss Love. This should be pretty straightforward. We're gonna keep it moving. All right, we'll get through it.
Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
You were asked on cross-examination by Mr. Adams whether or not you saw communication between
Oh, here we go already.
Demise McMullen and Kenneth Copeland.
Correct.
Paul,
Yes.
what was the number that you were able to obtain for Demise
Exactly,
McMullen?
Sean.
So the number for Demise McMullen was 470-217-6080.
And you were asked as well about efforts that you made to corroborate information that you were given during specific interviews. Do you recall?
I do.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 528 Yankee, and ask if you recognize 528 Yankee.
I do.
How?
This is a picture that I obtained from Justin Cobb's Instagram page that I screenshotted.
Okay.
And you know what I wish? I wish the defense would just object, just for fun. Just objection. 403 over and over and over.
Why did you, let me ask you first, is 528 Yankee a fair and accurate copy of the screenshot that you got from Justin Cobb's Instagram page?
Well, yes, though it's cut off a little bit on the right, where the timestamp is, the last number of the timestamp, it just says 201.
Okay.
But I mean, I recognize that it's otherwise fair and accurate. It's just cropped a little bit on the right-hand side.
Your Honor, the state tender states 528 Yankee as evidence.
I would actually object to it if it's not in the exact.
If it's what?
I'd actually object to it if it is not as he remembers it to be, if it's been altered or if it's not the same that he's viewed previously.
Okay, well, it is admitted, subject to the understanding that the date isn't to be relied on because we can't see what the date is.
And I'd also object to any hearsay that may be contained within that document.
No, they'll be back next
I don't know if
Wednesday.
I don't know what the exhibit is, so is
Wednesday or Thursday.
is that an issue I need to take up?
I don't believe so, Judge. I mean, I can show the court in.
Okay.
I'm telling y'all, man, they're gonna recruit Mr. Atkinson to the defense side. All right, so we'll skip ahead a little bit. Of course, as usual, got a little bit of a break.
A 528 Yankee and ask you, are you able to see the date on the digital version?
I am.
Your Honor, sit there.
Sorry, donkeys. We're gonna sit through it.
So are you going to, it'll ultimately be, are you just going to make a better copy and substitute? All right, that's fine. Then it's admitted in full.
Okay. As we're pulling up 528 Yankee, would you tell the jury what significance you found in 528 Yankee towards your investigation?
Well, there was a phone number posted.
What is it?
It was a
we know
public
what it
post,
is?
and there was a phone number that was. There's a comment section to the right of the photograph, and there was a phone number posted by the account holder that appeared to be their own.
Okay. And was the account holder Justin Cobb?
Yes.
What was the significance?
I'm going to object to that as hearsay and ask it to be stricken.
Which part?
Part about who the number belongs to.
Sustained.
Okay.
What did you do to determine whose account this was?
Well, I looked at the photos that were posted in the account, I believe, and for the traditionally that's what I would do with an Instagram page. It's just posted in public view.
Okay. And what was it that made the number in this post significant to you?
Well, I was looking for a number for Justin Cobb.
And what led you to believe that this number was a correct number for Justin Cobb?
Well, it was, there's probably more to it than just this, but it was posted in this Instagram comment, and
Posted by the owner or user of the account?
That was all speculation. I'd object.
Yeah.
If he has a basis to testify.
Are you able to see and tell, looking at the posting itself, what name the number is
Did she
next
just
to,
check her
or
phone?
handle
Renew
the
my
number
objection.
is
Also
next to?
object on the basis of hearsay if he's reading from a document.
It's already in evidence, Your Honor. And,
Okay, when
Your Honor,
we were out here at the bench,
I got you, Michi.
so, Your Honor, I'll ask additional questions that I think will,
sustained.
okay. So, after seeing this
Your Honor,
number,
I have a motion, please. May we step up?
Yeah. I'm going to excuse y'all to the jury room.
Uh-oh. Look at Miss Love. She got the attitude already. I hate that I missed this afternoon. Yeah, it's terrible, Melissa. What's Miss Love saying?
Your Honor, may we excuse the witness?
Yeah, Mr. Sprinkel, you can go ahead and step outside for us. Thank you.
Well, you already know what the motion is going to be. It's going to be a mistrial. But the question is why?
Your Honor, so my well, first of all, my motion is a motion for mistrial based on the actions of the prosecutor. My
There we go.
objection initially to the item was that it contained hearsay. The state represented at the bench that it was not hearsay. There was no hearsay contained in it. We did not address the issue of what the state already knew, which is that there was a phone number attached to it that she was going to try to elicit testimony from this witness about who that phone number belonged to. That in and of itself is speculation, but it's certainly hearsay. The document can't authenticate itself. I believe the site for that proposition is Twiggs versus State. It's 315 Georgia Appeals 191. So you can't, this witness can't look at a document and say that it says this phone number is from Justin Cobb's Instagram or social media posting, this is who it belongs to. So that was my objection. I believe the objection was well founded. I believe the state purposely put that up there after misrepresenting as to whether or not it contained any hearsay in it. And based on that, I would move for mistrial.
Dang.
May I respond?
Too dirty.
Judge,
Can somebody put the document up?
Uh-oh. Judge
Yes.
Whitaker's pulling up the receipts. It's not good.
First, the state objects to a mistrial. Second, Your Honor, what Mr.
Oh, yeah, there's the phone
Adams,
number right there.
indicated that he did not want on here were the comments. Where's the phone number? There it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
the comments generally being all of the writing on the right side of the picture.
Your Honor,
And so I said to you, is any of it hearsay? Is any of it being offered for the truth? And you said, no.
Your Honor, what I was asking the witness to do is to tell what was of significance to that number and what he did in terms of finding out and corroborating information that he obtained, because he obtained phone records. I don't intend that this evidence or this exhibit will prove or show that this is Justin Cobb's phone number.
You're asking him that? And
No,
asking
Your
him
Honor.
to testify to that?
I'm asking him, and I understand the court, I'm asking him what handle it's next to.
She said,
and,
do
Your Honor,
you all?
what he did after seeing what he saw on this
That's
social
not
media
what you
page.
asked for. You represented at the bench that none of this, that being the writing on the right side of the picture, which we're all squinting at because it's tiny on the piece of paper. And so I am relying upon you to actually be honest with the court and opposing counsel so that we can deal appropriately with the evidentiary issue.
Dang.
Was any of it being offered for the truth? And you said no. And then you turned around, and after it was admitted over the overruling of the hearsay objection, based on the representation that nothing was being offered for its truth, you drew the witness's attention to the phone number and tried to have the witness testify to whose phone number it was. If that is not offered for the truth, what is it?
Your Honor, it explains what steps he next took. It wasn't that he sat there and took this phone number and said, okay, this is Justin Cobb's phone number. He went and sought records based on what he saw on this social media post. So it's not, this post can't prove anything, but I do expect that the witness will testify based on what he saw, regardless, because it's a legitimate.
Why can't you just, at the bench, when you know that the reason you're offering it is for the phone number, and then to ask the witness other questions about what he did based on that phone number and seeing that phone number, say to everybody so that we know what we're dealing with, you know, it's this phone number, and then I'm going to ask him XYZ about the phone number, and then we'll know what we're dealing with.
Because my understanding that what was being objected to was not the phone number, was the comments that was the words, Your Honor.
Oh, she getting
And
upset.
Again, this piece of evidence does not prove anything, as anybody would be able to say. But when he saw this on Justin Cobb's page, or a picture of Justin Cobb next to what he believed to be Justin Cobb's handle, he sought additional information. The entire
phone number with the comments.
I'm sorry, what, Your Honor?
I mean, that is included within what you're now calling comments, all of them just being.
And I asked at the bench what comments they were asserting was hearsay, Your Honor. I literally
And
asked
I
that.
asked at the bench, is any of this being offered for its truth?
And Your Honor, it's being offered to explain DDA Sprinkle's actions that he took.
That's not what she
Next.
asked.
Your Honor, these records have
Judge
been
Whitaker.
collected as
Yes.
part of what he did in this investigation. He was asked on cross-examination, did he take particular steps to corroborate what was given to him in certain interviews? That was the preceding question before I asked him about this particular post. So the state intended and intends to introduce the records that DDA Sprinkle produced or obtained after seeing this post. This post can't suffice to prove that that is Justin Cobb's number. This post only explains why DDA Sprinkle got the number and why it was significant to him in this investigation, where his steps and actions are being questioned.
That's some
But
BS.
you know, Judge, we don't get there. I hear what the state's saying, and it's disingenuous.
bad.
Because we don't
It
get
is.
to the second step that they're talking about, what records he procured and why he did what he did, unless we go through the hearsay statement that's contained in the portion that I objected to. And
Exactly.
the court is accurate. I was there, and I asked for everything that was on the right side, all of the verbiage to be, I said that was hearsay. The state said it was not. It clearly is, because to ask him that specific question, I mean, listen, none of us are obtuse.
I
Here.
asked-
It is what it is. I think that the state was disingenuous about it. The state's being very slippery in regards to their response to the court's questions.
said
I think
slippery.
it's willful, and I think a mistrial is appropriate. And I'm
I
asking
mean, I
for one.
can't figure out what it is. If it's disingenuous, if it is that, I mean, I don't want to malign the prosecutor standing in front of me right now, so I'm not going to say the possible things that it could be, but it is baffling to me that somebody with the number of years of experience that you have, time after time after time, continues to seemingly purposefully hide the ball to the extent you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. And I really don't want to believe that it is purposeful, but honestly, after a certain number of times, you start to wonder how it could be anything but that, unless it is just that you are so unorganized that you are throwing this case together as you try it.
Ooh. Well, dang. Can we have this Judge Whitaker for the rest of the trial? Wow. I cannot believe she said that in front of the camera. Oh, you know Miss Love went home and cried after this. Dang. Dang. But she's 1,000% right. And so is Mr. Adams. They've been doing this. They keep doing it over and over. This is just another example of them getting away with it. Wow.
And I am sorry to say that, but
Look at Miss Love.
this case is being made much more difficult for everybody because of the
Judge Whitaker.
haphazard way in which it is being presented. I'm going to take a recess for a few minutes.
Oh, and she
I really wanna
she
go.
rage quit. Dang, Judge Whitaker, don't rage quit on it. Wow, Miss Love had nothing to say, no defense, no nothing. And Chantel said it. I've been saying this from the beginning. And I always go back to Mr. Bruce Harvey's motion when Judge Whitaker first decided to take this trial. He said, Judge, there is so much that has happened during this trial. You don't want to get in this. There's so much you haven't seen, so much you haven't been apprised to. All the evidence, the context, how everyone's behaving. You have Westmoreland saying, Judge, this is not the first time that the defense or that the prosecution has done this. They've been consistently hiding evidence. They've been consistently talking trash about the defense. They're letting a witness on the stand that we saw on Wednesday say that people are horrible. This dude's terrible. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Judge Whitaker had enough. What is she going to do moving forward, though? Because on Monday, I mean, she was not happy at all, which is crazy. I'm going to skip ahead and we're going to get back into this redirect and see if Miss Love can recover, because Judge Whitaker was hated. Good Lord. What do y'all think about that? Voodoo said Love is buffering. Sheesh. The donkey said, the kid said, why is she mad at her? Oh man. 321 relax says, don't be sorry, Judge. She had it coming. And she showed no remorse. You think Miss Love's gonna apologize and say, oh well, you know, it was not my intention, such and such. I mean, she couldn't even lie right. She was just like, whatever, I don't care. My name is Adrian Love and I'm gonna do me. What are you gonna do about it? Oh, we have to wait and see. What Judge Whitaker says. I don't know if she's gonna do anything though, because she kind of quieted down going into Tuesday and Wednesday. I think because we were getting closer to the end of this short week. Oh. Very odd.
All right, I'm going to deny the motion for mistrial. It's not as if the state couldn't have gotten the testimony in an appropriate way anyway. It's not like the testimony itself is that big of a deal.
Judge Whitaker,
But I am
take
going
it easy.
I'm going to exclude that statement and just tell the jury to disregard the statement and any testimony that had anything to do with the statement. So let's get Mr. Sprinkel back. Did you want to put anything on the record, or are you just getting ready for the jury?
She got all upset for nothing.
For the record, for the court.
All right.
Your Honor, this is from United States versus Roberts, Roberts. It's 640 F 2nd 255. It's the 9th Circuit, 1981. It's been cited many times. It specifically says that continued prosecutorial misconduct may show a course of conduct establishing the intent to provoke a mistrial and bring into play double jeopardy considerations. You have not been here the whole time, and we thank you for being here.
Oh, Brian's saying the same thing I mentioned.
Opening statement. Mm-hmm. And I know you got my motion.
I know, and I know what your argument is.
She's not even going to let him get his point out.
And I understand what that law says as well. Ms. Love does not appear to be trying to get a mistrial so that she can try this case over again, which I know if that were what she was doing, she wouldn't be able to try the case over again anyway. So that's just not applicable here. Now, is there continued prosecutorial misconduct merits a mistrial anyway based on that? Yes, potentially we get to that point at some point. But there is not, from what the court's vantage point is, an indication that the state is trying to goad anybody into moving for a mistrial so that they can retry the case because they think they're losing the case. I think they think they're winning the case.
No way. There's no way they think. For real? There's no way the prosecution thinks they're winning this case. And I mean, I guess I have to ask y'all to find out. Thank you to everybody who voted in the poll so far. Y'all really think the prosecution believes they're winning this case with Lil Woody, Monk Tunk, Quindarius Zachary, Mr. Sprinkle? Like, that's your team? Yeah, there's no way we're retrying this case. This is make it or break it. Jeez.
But I will say this. This is not becoming, in the state of Georgia, of a trial. And it is all the time, Your Honor. It is all the time. At some point, it's got to end. Because this is not fair to Mr. Williams, and I assume the other people on trial will agree. It is this constant hiding balls, citing law that does not stand.
Said hiding balls.
Not giving over information, not.
What are you talking about, Brian?
Arguing with the court. And I think that it does rise to a level now, but I understand the rule. But I think that we're well beyond it. And the reason I said it's wrong is it's literally.
Oh, I saw that. I know.
So what you gonna do about it, Judge Whitaker, if you saw it?
I think
Come on, man.
Frustration was apparent a few minutes ago. But I truly am struggling with whether all of this is purposeful or this is just really poor lawyering on the part of members of the state's team.
And what did I tell y'all? Unless Ms. Hilton jumped across the desk and choked Lil Woody out, I mean, maybe then we'd have like a 2% chance of a mistrial. But knowing them, they'd probably just, put Miss Hilton in front of a TV and let her watch a video on how not to choke out a witness. I don't know. Like this. Judge Whitaker has made it clear over and over again. She's going to proceed with this trial, let the jury decide what's going to happen here, and move on with her career. Because she's on center stage now. The whole world is watching this. Y'all see on the day we don't even have court, there are 1,400 people in here watching. The world's watching this. And Judge Whitaker, she's trying not to fumble it. I wish she would have held strong and just called it a mistrial at the beginning, but I mean, you made your bed, Judge Whitaker. You got to lie in it now or get Love out of here. Choice is up to you.
Either way, it's really unfortunate. If it's something other than poor lawyering, then it is more than unfortunate. But at this point, and we're going to just move on with that exhibit being excluded. I don't know if I can stress any more than I already have how much the state's lawyers need to make an effort to be upfront and forthright in the trial of this case. So let's get the witness back in.
This is an interesting point. I want to stop right here. Shout out to Nicole for saying this. Whitaker has already fumbled. She is under investigation as well now. What? It's interesting though. Think about this. I don't know if that's true, and I'm gonna have to do some research into that. If y'all have any more information on what Judge Whitaker has going on, let me know in the chat. Think about how bad this would look though. Brian Steele, aka Jeffrey Williams, right, filed multiple motions to get Love and Hilton removed. Now Miss Love has a complaint with the state bar saying that she has all of this prosecutorial misconduct. If something happens, how is this going to look that the defense was saying, hey, Judge Whitaker, even before we got to this point, we've been trying to get Adrian Love off of this case. We've been trying to get Miss Hilton off this case. And now you see Adrian Love, she's gone, or she's having issues. We told you, we warned you. We said all of this was going to happen and had been happening before you got here. You didn't believe us. Now she's in here getting mad and frustrated with Miss Love live in 4K. Like, come on. Judge Whitaker herself was warned over and over. There were motions filed, legal documents we looked at and reviewed on this channel and on this show that said, these are all the things they've been doing, Judge Whitaker. And if you think they're going to stop, it's not the case. And then we have this. Why are you surprised? She had plenty of time and information.
Renew my motion for mistrial, or consider that my motion is renewed before the asking of the next question, please.
It's renewed.
Thank you.
The Harvey rule does apply.
Yes.
I mean, Judge Whitaker could grant the motion right now, and this would be over. Ask yourself this, and I want y'all to answer me in the chat, and then I'll keep it going. Ask yourself this. Judge Whitaker, with the stroke of a pen right now, could grant a mistrial. Out of the 40, what are we up to? 46, 47 motions for mistrial. She could end it today. It's Friday. It's not a holiday today, right? She's still got 6 or 7 hours that she could just make this go away. And she's choosing not to. Why? Ask yourself why. Now it's 46 now. It's 46 motions for mistrial. I think it might be 47, but it's definitely 46. $46 motions for mistrial is crazy.
Thank you.
Frank said, why do I think she hasn't?
Further discussion. That last exhibit, which is State's Exhibit 528Y, is excluded from evidence, and so that means that y'all need to disregard it entirely in your thoughts and in your deliberation in this case. And as well, you need to disregard any testimony that might have been given about that particular exhibit. All right, go ahead, Ms. Love.
Thank you, Judge. DDA Sprinkel, you were asked on cross-examination about whether you attempted to determine whether Kenneth Copeland, in the words of Mr. Adams, lied when talking to the police. Do you recall that question?
Yes, generally, he asked me something about whether I endeavored to detect that or figure it out.
Did you make any steps to determine or to corroborate the information you gained from Kenneth Copeland?
I did.
Would you tell the jury what steps you took to corroborate information that you gained from Kenneth Copeland?
Well, there was a number of things that I did. I, in particular, looked at all the cell phone records. Like, for example, so I looked at the call detail records, the times that people were called or made calls, the parties to those calls, and also the towers that the handsets utilized by those calls. And as I've testified previously, you can tell somebody's general location based on the tower and the sector of the tower, the antenna of the tower that their handset utilizes to facilitate the call. And also, you can, in knowing who somebody is communicating with at a given time, that can tell you a little something as well. And so when I compared Mr. Copeland's statements to my analysis of the cell phone records, I tried to the best of my ability to corroborate as much of his statement as I could by analyzing all of that.
You were also asked on cross-examination the power went out over here. Just keep on all of the screens.
On what? I can't see any of the screens, so.
They're black.
The monitors themselves are out?
Uh-oh.
Okay, well, do we need them right now? Do we need them right now?
No, not at this.
It depends on what the
no.
judge decides.
In terms of, is this one on? No. No? Okay. No. Do we have our backup thing? It does sound like something went silent too, so.
Yeah, if there's a mistrial, that doesn't necessarily mean they all would go free.
Just to be clear, Your Honor, it's not the monitors that have lost power, it's whatever's feeding the monitors.
Okay. Well, we got the sound fixed, and so now we're going to have issues with the video, the site.
It's always something.
But you can just monitor back up.
Yes, thank you, Judge. DDA Sprinkel, did you utilize statements from other witnesses to corroborate information you obtained from Kenneth Copeland's interview?
I did.
Citation clause.
Not just from that, so overruled.
You were asked on cross-examination whether you obtained a wiretap for Defendant Williams' phone. Do you remember that?
Yes.
All right. As it relates to the Donovan Thomas murder, would it be something you would expect to be able to get a wiretap for a year and a half later?
I'm going to check on the ground of speculation.
Overruled.
As it relates to the Donovan Thomas murder.
So wiretaps are for evidence of things that are going to be talked about in the future. I'm trying to think. I don't believe I've ever obtained a wiretap to investigate a crime that happened in the past, solely to investigate a crime that happened in the past. That's not to say you couldn't. I have heard of such things, but I've not personally done it, and I did not do it in this case.
You were also asked on cross-examination about the photographs that depicted, or the social media postings that depicted defendant Stillwell. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And Did you testify that you obtained information about the photograph from a person you spoke to?
Yes, yes. Apart from what was just available in the public internet form, that being the website from which I obtained them. Yes, I did. I spoke with someone about the photograph.
Okay. Mr. Adams asked you about Detective Thorpe consulting with Detective Gaither and Detective Dennis. Do you recall that?
I do.
Do you have any knowledge of whether Detective Gaither or Detective Dennis were consulted with before warrants were taken out by Detective Thorpe? In other words, did he seek their permission to take out the warrants?
No.
You have any knowledge about that?
No, I don't believe he did, no.
Okay. You were also asked on cross-examination by Mr. Adams about the dismissals and the NPGJ for certain people that warrants were initially taken out for the murder of Donovan Thomas. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. Were the dismissals of those warrants in any way based on the additional investigation that you did with your investigator, David White, into the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Well, no, not the one with Sledge. That was the Mr. Antonio Sledge. That was the preliminary hearing judge that threw that one out. So,
What's the objection, Max?
Hang on.
It's not responsive to testimony about other court proceedings.
All right, I don't know if your mic's on at all, but
I'm sorry.
It's not.
It was non-responsive, and it was testimony about other court proceedings, which I believe is inappropriate and hearsay.
overruled.
Did your investigation into the murder of Donovan Thomas lead you to present MPGJs for people who had been arrested for his murder?
Well, yes, for the people for which we didn't, the people that we didn't prosecute for the murder, yes.
Okay. Mr. Adams asked you specifically about corroborating the information you gained from Kenneth Copeland's interview.
It's true, Greg.
And specifically, he asked you about phone calls with Demekian Garlington. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Are you able to tell the jury what information Kenneth Copeland provided you that you were able to corroborate?
Well,
Okay, I think your mic's still out, but sustained.
You were asked on cross-examination by Mr. Shardt whether Kenneth Copeland said he was at the Green store at the time of the murder. Do you recall that?
I do.
When you are looking at cellular location information for cell phones, do you look at a static point in time to determine what a person's handset is doing? In other words, do you only look at the time of the incident in question, or is the time leading up to it and the time after it also relevant?
Well, yes, the times before, during, and after the homicide can absolutely be relevant.
Was there any point during your investigation where Kenneth Copeland said, I was at the Green store at the time of Donovan Thomas's murder?
I don't remember that. I don't have every single thing that he said during his, particularly the 9-hour statement, committed to memory, but I don't recall him saying that, being even cognizant as to saying that he knew exactly where he was at the time that Donovan Thomas suffered his fatal gunshot wound.
Okay. As it relates to what Kenneth Copeland did tell you about his whereabouts on the day of Donovan Thomas's murder, were you able to get information as it relates to any significant others in Kenneth Copeland's life about where he was on the day of the murder?
So to be clear, I never spoke with Kenneth Copeland, but from the statements that he provided, yes, I believe so. I definitely, because he would reference people that he knew, I sought to identify, for example, phone numbers for those people, because again, that would go to my corroborating his statement based on, among other things, his phone logs.
Okay. When you
Yeah, they need to
testified
know.
on
What was that last
cross-examination
question?
that you were looking at big things for inconsistencies, what did you mean by that?
What is?
Well,
Hold on, I gotta run that back. What did she ask him?
I never spoke with Kenneth Copeland.
To
There
get
we go.
information as it relates to
Hold on a second. What did she say?
tell you about his whereabouts on the day of Donovan Thomas's murder.
And I've got this sped up too, y'all.
Were you able to get information as it relates to any significant others in Kenneth Copeland's life about where he was on the day of the murder?
So to be clear, I never spoke with Kenneth Copeland, but from the statements that he provided, yes, I believe so. I definitely, because he would reference people that he knew, I sought to identify, for example, phone numbers for those people, because again, that would go to my corroborating.
I should have just left it alone. Dang. Shout out to Elizabeth Wright for the 5 gifted
based on,
memberships.
among other things, his phone logs.
Okay. When you testified on cross-examination,
Hold on.
that you were looking at big things for inconsistencies, what did you mean by that?
Well, so, a big inconsistency would be, as I cited, if somebody were to say, for example, I witnessed a murder and there's a video of the vantage point that the person cited that they stood, and then I look at the video and there's nobody there, that would be a big inconsistency that I would seek to clear up, and indeed I did that here. That's what I meant by that, something that's glaring, something that you're not able to, something for which there's not a reasonable explanation that can clear this up for you.
You were also asked on cross-examination about who was in possession of the Infiniti that was at the Texaco prior to the Donovan Thomas murder. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And he said Yak
Why
wasn't
did you
in
say, do you mean, or if you mean actual possession? Do you recall responding
Yes.
regarding actual possession? Why did you say that?
Well, the person that was actually at the helm of the vehicle.
At the helm? Come on, Mr. Sprinkel. This isn't a ship, brother.
And had actual control of the vehicle, not the person that had some sort of legal right to the vehicle through a lease agreement or otherwise.
Did you see anyone else's name on the rental records for the vehicle, the Infiniti that was at the gas station up the street from where Donovan Thomas was gunned down?
That's a bad.
No, I don't think so. Just Mr. Williams.
That doesn't have anything to do with it. So because he rented the car, that means he's somewhat implicated. You can rent a car and let somebody else drive it. Now, it might be against the terms of the rental agreement, but just because you rented the car, that doesn't mean he's the one who did anything. Crazy, man. Crazy, terrible question. Fatima, you got it. We gonna make it. We gonna make it through.
Mr. Adams also asked you about phone calls between Demise McMullen, Kenneth Copeland, and Demekion Garlington.
I'm sorry, y'all. Bear with me 1 second. Let me do it this way.
In your review of Kenneth Copeland's interviews, do you recall him ever giving a specific time that he was in the car, as in 1 a.m., 4 a.m., a specific time that he was in the car with Demise McMullen and Demekion Garlington?
Well, it was afterward, but no, I don't recall the specific time.
After
or
what?
If he cited a specific time. From what I remember, he would cite. Generally, he'd say, I think it was around 10:30 or something. That's not a quote at all, what I just said. But no, I don't recall him having like a regimented timeline, like at 1927 hours, we went to this location or anything like that.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You were also asked about the absence of You were also asked about the absence of phone calls in the phone records that you obtained as it related to Defendant Williams and Demekion Garlington. Do you remember that?
I do.
We're going to get to Mr. Adams' cross-examination here shortly, too. If I can get this video to load. Lord have mercy.
Are you able to tell the jury whether the phone records or the call detail records that you obtained
do they have a recross after this? No. No recross after this. I might have to do this another way.
and Demekion Garlington? Do you remember that?
I do.
Are you able to tell the jury whether the phone records or the call detail records that you obtained would reflect FaceTime calls?
No.
Would those call detail records reflect WhatsApp calls?
No.
Do you know, or can you even say that there was no communication between Defendant Williams and Demekion Garlington?
No, I can't say that. The records, like I said, the call detail records are only those that were logged by the cellular phone company. A FaceTime call would be facilitated through Apple, the Apple Corporation's platform.
Really, I did not know that.
Did you?
Did y'all know that FaceTime call? I know they mentioned it before, but the reason people use FaceTime is because they're not documented on your phone records.
Ever charge Defendant Williams with Donovan Thomas's murder?
No.
Interesting.
You were asked about the headliner in the Infinity, or obtaining gunshot residue from the Infinity that you found a year and a half later in a different state. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did you have any information about the number of people who had been in the Infinity between the time that Donovan Thomas was gunned down and the time it was located in a different state?
No. And from what I recall, Hertz wouldn't have been able to provide me with records of that anyway. It's very interesting. I couldn't ask for the rental history on a specific vehicle. I could only ask for the rental history of a specific person.
Interesting.
And did you have any information about the number of times the interior of that vehicle had been cleaned, laundered, or anything else in that year and change?
No. Not that I recall. No.
Without that information, why then did you seek to obtain a search warrant?
Well, I primarily wanted to obtain the data from the vehicles, the Infinity's infotainment system, you know, the system that you might hook your phone up to. I thought that if we were able to get a search warrant, we might as well also analyze the interior for gunshot residue. I mean, I was aware of what the probative value of that may or may not be, but I thought better to have it and not need it than the other way around. So that was the rationale there as to why I did that, or was contemplating that. That ultimately never happened.
Mr. Adams also asked you about not getting cell site data for the phone number that you determined belonged to Demekion Garlington, or at least that you testified on cross was Demekion Garlington's phone number.
Well, I don't know that I definitively figured out that that was Demekion Garlington's number, no.
And
Miss
what
Love's like
information
5'9", 5'10", something like that.
could you get without having
heel
probable
sheets
cause to
over 6
obtain
feet.
cell site location data?
You can obtain the subscriber information. That is the information that the phone company has on file for the person that pays for the line, if they have that information on file. You know, the person that they would bill on a monthly basis, basically. And also the what are called call detail records. These are just, I mean, these are anybody who's had phone service, you know, and they've seen a bill and it has a list of your phone calls. Well, that's essentially what this is. It looks a little bit different when you get them pursuant to a legal process like this, but it's just a list of the incoming and outgoing calls and text messages, not iMessages, incidentally, not messages sent between iPhones, but text messages, SMS messages. And that's essentially it. Notably absent from records, call detail records, if you don't have a search warrant, in other words, there wasn't a finding of probable cause, is that tower location data that I've testified to. That is the general area where the handset was, the equipment to which the handset connected to facilitate the communication. Without a search warrant, you cannot get that. You can only get the dates and times of the calls and the numbers that were that were part of that call.
And talking about the lack of calls in those records between Defendant Williams and Demekion Garlington, if two persons or two handsets are next to one another, do you generally expect to find phone calls between those two people if they're sitting, for instance, in the same vehicle?
Well, it's not impossible to call somebody sitting in the same vehicle as you. So I don't know why somebody would call somebody that's saying that. Maybe they can't find their phone. I call my phone, I can't find it. I mean, there could be any number of reasons. I can't speculate as to why you'd call somebody in your immediate spatial proximity.
Makes sense.
Who was it that gave you the information about the photograph where Shannon Stillwell is depicted?
Quindarius Zachary.
And who was it that gave you the date, or the approximate time or date that the photograph was taken?
Quindarius Zachary.
And finally, you were asked about the length of time people remained in jail after being arrested for Donovan Thomas's murder. Do you recall that?
No, I don't recall specifically being asked about the length of time they spent in jail, but I recall being asked about something along those lines, similar to that maybe.
Okay. If a person is held on something other than the warrant for murder, would an MPGJ or a dismissal of the murder charges automatically allow them to be released?
No.
All right, just 1 second. Sure.
Get it together,
That's
Ms.
all that I
Lowe.
have at this time.
All right, is there any recross? All right.
Mrs. Sprinkel, picking up where the prosecutor left off in regards to that NPGJ, what we do know, though, is that Mr. Copeland's NPGJ, the charges or the document that dismissed the murder charge that first put him in jail in 2015, that NPGJ wasn't done until 2017. Is that correct?
That sounds right. I didn't file that, but, and I don't recall who the prosecutor was that did, but I was aware of it. But I don't know that he was ever actually booked into the Fulton County Jail on the murder charge, though.
You don't know that?
I think he was in the federal jail, if I remember correctly.
The other three were, though, right?
Well, not Mr. Sledge, Mr. Garlington, because like I said, Mr. Sledge's case was dismissed in January 2016. Mr. Garlington, Mr. Jackson, aka Mr. Stillwell, yes.
Well, let me ask you this. You said Mr. Sledge's charges were dismissed in 2016. Where was he before his charges were dismissed?
Fulton County Jail.
Right, so in jail on that murder warrant, right?
Correct.
Okay, so he was in fact imprisoned on Thorpe's murder warrant until the judge until his charges were dismissed, right?
Well, in the jail, not prison, but yes, he was incarcerated, yes.
Okay, I mean, jail, prison, you're not on the streets, your freedom's taken from you, right?
Right, I mean, it's a distinction without a difference. I'm just saying that, prison and jail are two different. Yes, his freedom was restricted. He was not allowed to leave. He was in a government facility.
You were asked a number of questions about cell phones. And I wanted to kind of pick up there. Now, you were aware from the work that you had done on the case, as well as listening to Mr. Copeland's statements, his interviews, that he had multiple cell phones in January of 2015. You're aware of that, right?
Mr. Copeland did?
Mr. Copeland, yes.
I'm sorry, I have one number for him. I don't recall him saying that he personally had multiple cell phones.
He did say it.
I don't remember that now.
How about this? Do you remember in an interview that he had with the
Said it
detectives,
in a couple of interviews.
where
Yep.
on January the 11th of 2015, at about 3:30 in the morning, where he talks to the detectives about his cell phone or cell phones. Do you remember that?
No, I don't recall that. I know I'm familiar with that interview, but I just don't remember him talking about multiple cell phones or anything like that.
Okay. Are you aware that
He did. He said everybody's
there
got
were
two
no
phones.
calls? And if we're just going to just talk about the number that you're familiar with in regards to Mr. Copeland, let's focus on that one. all
Okay.
right? Are you aware that there are no calls from Mr. Copeland's, per his cell phone records, on January 10th, 2015, between 6:58 p.m. and 7:26 p.m.? Are you aware of that?
I don't have the full records in front of me. I do see that the records that I examined, the last relevant call is at 6:58 p.m.
Okay. And you had, when you got his phone records, we've talked before about the fact that you've got the cell tower data, so you had some idea of where you thought he was at particular times based on those records, right?
Well, I take that back, actually. At 7:01, 7:23, 7:24, 7:26, 7:28, 7:43, 7:45, 7:49, 7:51, and 7:54, there were calls,
Calls
transactions.
coming in or going out?
Let's see, there was an inbound call at 7:01, there was another inbound call at 7:23, there was an outbound call at 7:24, there was an inbound call at 7:26, an inbound call at 7:28,
So what
an
does that mean?
outbound call at 7:43, an outbound call at 7:45, an inbound call at 7:49, an inbound call at 7:51, and that's it.
Okay. And so having his records, knowing the cell tower data, you were able to opine on where he was at a particular time on that night, January 10th, 2015, right?
Well, his general where the
These
part
are
of
Lil
town
Woody's phone
basically that
records
his
he's talking
handset
about.
was located.
You placed him, according to your report, either at or near the McDonald's on the evening of January 10, 2015. You remember that?
I do.
All right. Now, you don't have any cell phone or cell tower data records on Mr. Copeland that shows his phone going to what we've called the Sky House on that night, do you?
I don't recall that.
So no.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Nothing in your records that refreshes your recollection that you've got any of that. You don't have any of that to show that he went to the Sky House or his phone, the phone that you're saying is his, went to the Sky House on that night. True?
That is correct. I don't believe that. Yeah, just taking a look at my notes, doesn't appear to me that I found that his phone traveled to the Sky House.
And one of the things that you were asked about these phone records, I think the prosecutor asked you, well, the phone records won't show you WhatsApp communications, right?
That's correct.
Asked whether or not the phone records would show you, or said that they would not show you FaceTime communications, right?
Correct.
And so I think your answer, tell me if this is what you said, was that you can't say that there was not any communication between Mr. Williams's phone and, for example, Mr. Copeland's phone on that night. You can't say that because it could have been maybe WhatsApp or FaceTime, right?
Yeah, some sort of platform for which we just don't have logs.
Right, and so what we have ultimately is that
They should
there
be able
is
to get
no
them, though.
evidence, none, right? Because we can't assume a negative. There is no evidence that there was any communication between those phones on that night, right?
I'm gonna clip that and use that as a sound effect. This is one of the best statements of the year. Listen to what Mr. Adams says here.
There is no.
We just don't have logs.
Right, and so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
That's it right there. That is the sound. That is the voice clip from this entire trial. So what we have here is there is no evidence. I'm clipping that.
Copeland's phone on that night. You can't say that because it could have been maybe WhatsApp or FaceTime, right?
Yeah, some sort of platform for which we just don't have logs.
Right, and so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none, right? Because we can't assume a negative. There is no evidence that there was any communication between those phones on that night, right?
Correct.
Prosecutor asked you, said,
CG
you
said
never
make that a sound
charged
effect on the
Mr.
stream
Williams
day. Yeah, you already
with
know.
Donovan Thomas's murder, right?
I'm gonna add it
you
today.
did not.
That's correct.
Because you had no evidence that he committed that murder, true?
Well, yes, but I also can't charge people with crimes. I'm not a police officer and I'm not a grand jury. But I think I understood what the question was intended to elicit. And yes, that's correct. I didn't think that there was evidence to charge him.
Yikes.
You, I got a question about a video. I'm not sure if it was a prosecutor that asked
That's
you, or
crazy.
maybe it was Mr. Shardt who asked you about a video.
Yeah, I think
specifically at the
Sprinkel's a great
McDonald's.
witness. I agree.
You didn't get any video from the McDonald's, right?
I did not.
Okay. Are you familiar with different recording systems where there's something recorded and it's kept for a certain period of time and then either recorded over or deleted? You familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay, I think we talked about that you talked about that a little while ago, right?
Yeah, basically that there's only a finite amount of recording space, so eventually the recording has to start over again.
Now, when we're talking about that, the recording starting over, you said before that some recording systems record for a certain period of time and then maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, something like that. You remember that testimony?
Yeah, depending on the size of the recording, the size in megabytes of the recording media. I mean, presumably they don't have them on tape anymore. Yeah, it would depend on that.
Right. So if you've got and not hypothetically, but just based on your knowledge and your experience, right? A system that records every 2 weeks. It's not that you've got 2 weeks of recordings, then all of a sudden that goes away and it starts over, right? Isn't it just that you have one day and then a particular day is taken up by the following day as it starts and goes all the way through? Do you understand what I'm asking you?
Yeah, I think I understand. It's a hard drive that the data is being written to. So, I mean, I don't know that as the drive fills up, you're right. I guess what you're asking is that after 2 weeks, does all the data just immediately go away at the 2 week mark? No, I wouldn't think so. No, I would think it would be an incremental deletion.
As it relates to this, if there's not knowledge, I would object based on speculation as to any particular.
Sustained.
Okay.
Johnny says, if the jacket doesn't match,
right.
you must retract.
Mr. Sprinkel, you were asked, I think following up on a question I'd asked you, then the state asked whether or not you were aware of if Detective Thorpe consulted with Detective Dennis or Gaither. Remember that question?
Yes.
And we had talked earlier when I questioned you originally on Cross about the fact that you knew that there were interviews, for example, with Mr. Copeland, where all of those detectives were present, right?
Yes.
And those would have been things that took place after January 10th of 2015, correct?
Yes.
As the murder investigation was being conducted, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then we have the arrest of these 4 individuals on October 20th of 2015, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that they were all arrested on that date, but that was the date the warrants were obtained.
Got you. That's the date that Detective Thorpe made a decision, and I'm gonna arrest these 4 guys or get a warrant for their arrest, right?
That's right.
Okay. Which he was wrong about, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Sustained.
Okay. You were asked whether or not you thought that,
Who
or you
objected?
knew whether
Sounded like Max.
Thorpe sought permission from either Detective Dennis and or Gaither to swear out the warrants for the arrest of the individuals in the Donovan Thomas case.
yes.
All right. I think your response was either you don't know or you don't think he did.
Well, no, I don't think he did. That'd be very odd. The permission lays with the magistrate judge or a judge, not with his coworkers at the Atlanta Police Department. But to my knowledge, no, that never happened.
But what you do know, from speaking to the detectives, and by the time you grab a hold of the case, right, is that certainly Detective Gaither and Detective Dennis had been involved to some extent in the murder investigation, right, or at least assisted with it, right?
Yes.
And after Thorpe swore out the warrants in October, they were aware that these 4 people were sitting in jail, right?
They were.
Neither of them, these 2 seasoned investigators, either came to Thorpe or you and said, hey, you know what, we got some problems here. I think we got Detective Thorpe didn't do what he was supposed to do. We need to take another look. That never happened, did it?
Objection, relevance, and vague and compound.
What?
Sustained.
Come on, man.
Okay. In regards to the Infinity, we talked initially, I questioned you, not talked, about possession of the Infinity. And you used the word actual possession.
Right.
Right? You said, no, I do not know who was in actual possession of the Infinity on January 8th, 9th, 10th.
Meaning he didn't know who was driving it.
And you were just asked a question about the importance of actual possession. And actual possession is something that's important to you, or was important to you in making a determination about the Infinity, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, Adams is a beast.
Mr. Williams' name appears as the person who the car was rented to, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, in terms of your investigation, if you believe that there was something that was done or crime committed using the Infinity, right, That is why it would be important to determine who was in actual possession of the Infinity at the time that the crime was committed, right?
That's correct.
Because I can rent a car and it be in my name, but if someone else has possession of the car and is committing the crime, they're the person that's committing that crime, right?
That's
You would-
correct. I
you
mean,
would
unless
think.
they're able to show that somehow the people that actually possessed the car did so with the encouragement of the lessee. But yes, you're right.
And specifically in regards to this case, this Infinity, Mr. Williams, you had no such evidence, true?
That's correct.
Yikes. Dang, Mr. Sprinkle. Oh, man. Shooting the APD in the foot right
Your
now.
investigation,
Good Lord. And the state, really.
I use the term investigation, your work on the case led you to recognize that there were inconsistencies and you couldn't trust what Kenneth Copeland was saying or what he had said in his statements, true?
Dang.
Well, no, I thought that his statement, there were a number of things that I thought were accurate about his statement.
And some things were inaccurate, right? As far as you knew.
You would have to, his statement was there was a lot in his statement. I tried to look at his statement generally based on what he was able to remember when he provided that 9-hour statement and primarily compare it with the phone records. And when I did that, I didn't see any glaring, I can't recall seeing anything that was just wholly inconsistent or impossible. Like, for example, the first witness, Spencer Wright, what he said happened was impossible. He wasn't there. I didn't see anything like that with Kenneth Copeland.
Did your investigation on this
Except
case,
there
by
was
the
no
time
evidence.
you picked it up or got involved in it late 2015, 2016, seeing everything that had been done or not done thus far, also lead you to believe that you couldn't necessarily trust the investigative work of Thorpe, Gaither, and Dennis?
Well, no. I mean, yes, there was a mistake.
He's starting to stutter again.
Mistake and not taking a look at the video.
Come on, man.
And checking to see if the witness was actually where he said he was. Okay, but would that mean that I wouldn't be able to trust anything in the entire investigation? No, I wouldn't make that sort of blanket condemnation such that I would just disregard everything in the entire file and every finding of fact made by the police. No. I mean, I can see that a mistake was made in one part of the investigation, but there are other parts of the investigation that were not as erroneous.
His mistake put people in jail, though, didn't it?
Yes.
That's all.
All right, any other defense attorney have redirect? I mean, I'm sorry, not redirect, recross?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Sprinkle, thank you for your time. I think it sounds like we might see you again at another stage in this case, but you are free to go for now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And it's a little after 4. Do we have another witness who's going to take hour and a half? If not, we'll just get started with somebody and go as far as we can.
We'll get started with Detective. Yes.
All right. Anybody need a break before we get to the next witness? Y'all good? Okay.
Your Honor, and as it relates to this particular witness, there has been a ruling as it relates to filming.
Okay, so.
And of course, I was muted the whole time. Good morning to everybody that's in here. Shout out to Amy for sponsoring the show. Oh, I got to do it at least once a day. Dropping the 50 bomb. Elizabeth Wright and Danielle Judge with the 5 memberships. If you got a membership from them, make sure you say thank you. And then meet you over there. I was muted because she was making me cuss. She said, like the damn video, y'all. Got me up here cussing. She said it. I didn't say it. Jeez. Oh, man. Thank you to Amy for sponsoring the show. Nah, I didn't say anything important. It's fine. All right, let's keep it moving. So now what we're going to get into, we got a couple more things and I'm going to get y'all up out of here. We have a Detective Gaither. Now, as you heard Miss Love getting ready to say, Detective Gaither was going to take the stand on Tuesday and Wednesday, the last 2 days of this proceedings this week. And some interesting things happened. As y'all might remember, she didn't want to be videoed, but the media team at the state, the Fulton County media team, completely botched this, and they actually showed her on the Zoom feed, and someone was able to grab a screenshot from the live stream, uploaded it on social media, and then it went viral. Judge Whitaker broke down and had some major issues with what went down then. I'll give you guys a background on that. Shout out to Law and Crime.
I don't know if it was any of you, but we need to get to the bottom of it, or I'm going to have to excuse everybody from utilizing cameras anymore, because there is an instruction that this witness not be in any way filmed or documented, no visual images of this witness. And some person who I have no idea who is from Adam has just emailed that they and shown a picture that is now documented all over the internet of this witness today, clearly sitting in the witness box being examined by Miss Love, and it is a full-on image of the witness. And so we need to get to the bottom of who took it and sent it to somebody else. And it was posted by somebody named Empress Fox Protect.
Shout out to Empress Fox.
America, I guess, 2028. With the disclaimer, this was sent to me. I didn't take the photo or own it. So, one by one. I can't, you know what? Everybody come up individually to a microphone somewhere.
So Judge Whitaker
so that I
made
can
everybody
hear you,
file on up
identify
there.
yourself, and say what you need to say.
Everyone who has a Rule 22 and is a part of the media, so she could try and figure out what happened. If y'all haven't seen this, this is interesting.
Good afternoon.
So I just, I'm not the leader. I just wanted to be the first one to say that I'm not allowed cell phones or cameras. It's on no order. I definitely did not take the picture. The picture did come to my attention. I got here a little bit late today, but there was a camera and device. Someone was definitely taking pictures today. And I know one of the people who was taking pictures was Miss L.J. Hall, PhD.
Oh, dang. Hey. Yo, come on, man. Not even the media team can stick together. She just threw one of her fellow media members under the bus. That's crazy.
Someone was definitely taking
Dang.
pictures today. And I know one of the people who was taking pictures was Miss L.J. Hall, PhD. Not for sure if she took the picture, but she definitely had a camera.
Okay.
Just, she didn't ask you all that. She asked you if you did it.
And remind me your name. I'm sorry.
Yes, my name is Nicole Borden.
Okay. All right.
You see Nicole, she looked over at the defense. I guarantee somebody over on the one of the defendants said snitch. I wish I could have heard it. They probably said snitch. If I was the defendant, I would have said something.
Miss Sylvia.
Oh, infamous Sylvia's in there too. Oh Lord.
Yeah, you gave her permission to do still photos, but not on these.
I'm surprised they didn't call her up there first.
Hey, I only Hi, I was live streaming. That's it. I didn't take any pictures.
Ma'am.
I live stream. I didn't take any pictures.
Okay. I mean, you've got a couple, 2 or 3 different devices going over there at once at some
Judge
points
Whitaker
in
said,
time.
I don't believe you.
And it looks like sometimes you do take photos. Are you taking photos?
Yeah, I only take photos of the defendant. That's
All
it.
right.
Or you.
You are
I take pictures of you.
representing to the court that you did not take any pictures, any images of this witness. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you know anything at all about anyone who did and or how this got out there?
I only know one person that was taking pictures, the same person that she said
Dang, they all snitched.
All right, and ma'am, I don't even know who you are back there, but.
No, she's not even allowed to have.
Okay. No. All right. Sorry to have. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think it was probably
I'll do
Maria
a
was
show
sitting back
cause
there.
Order to Miss Hall, and we'll find out from her.
All right, so that was the whole situation there.
Okay.
And then, as y'all saw earlier, we got to see there was pictures and videos of Gaither out there everywhere, all over the internet. You see this instance where they were promoting her for being one of the first women to be on the security team for the Atlanta Hawks. And then, as she finally got back into court, you had situations like this where she was going back and forth with a lot of the lawyers on the defense side. Some of y'all may have seen this. Check it out.
Generally speaking, I can't just answer that and put all of that in one box, Mr. Shardt. If you speak, I'm still answering.
Okay.
I can't just put all of that in one box when you just say all investigations. All investigations and all confessions or interviews are not the same.
As an investigator, when would you not want to know who else heard a statement?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Well, I was just told.
Harassing.
Overruled.
Max
As
is
an
laughing.
investigator, when would you not want those details? Explain to me a situation where you wouldn't want those details.
There's not a situation that I would not want those details, but if we're speaking about something in context, a specific incident, all investigations are not the same. Yes, the generalized who, what, when, where, how, that's essentially what you want to obtain, but sometimes that's not always known.
All right,
by
so
the person that's giving the information.
So Max and Gaither have a little bit of a history. I played this yesterday, and shout out to Mel for having this clip. This was the first time when Max and Detective Gaither kind of went back and forth about some things.
When you left the police department, what did you do with this?
What I do with what? You have it in your hand?
Yeah, what did you do with the photo lineup that you wrote on? Did that go in the case file when you left the Atlanta Police Department?
I believe you just asked me the exact same question that you did before.
I didn't. Could you please answer my question?
What's your question again, sir?
Did you do anything different with
Attitude.
these police reports than you did with the other police reports that we can't find? We have this one though, but you don't have the other police reports. Okay, so you're saying that D'Angelo White was sitting in the blue car in the Citgo that night and heard and saw OG Bentley, also known as Kelvin Treadwell, making a phone call from inside the store.
Objection.
That's what you're saying?
Objection, badgering number one. Objection, cause for speculation, and objection hasn't answered.
I stand against all three bases.
Is that what you're saying?
Objection, hasn't.
Sir, I'm already ruled.
Shout out to Mel. So that is just one of the few instances where you hear Gaither just having an attitude, thinking she's a lawyer, going back and forth with some of the attorneys on the defense side. Well, now people are getting sick of it. And shout out to the Black law student, and y'all can check them out over on YouTube and on X. They sent a letter to Detective Gaither's current employer, which, as we mentioned, is the Atlanta Hawks. And look what they said in this letter and in this tweet. They said the Black law student has officially sent a letter to the CEO of the Atlanta Hawks urging a reconsideration of the hiring of Lakia Gaither. Our stance is rooted in ethics and professionalism, reflecting our commitment to integrity in all spheres. Stay tuned for more updates. So we're going to read this letter and see what they said. It's crazy. And the subject says, deep concern regarding the hiring of Lakia Gaither. Yo, they went at this lady. Dear Mr. Steve Koonin, jeez. I'm writing to express my profound outrage and disappointment over the Atlanta Hawks' decision to hire Lakia Gaither, a former Atlanta Police Department investigator who testified as an expert witness in the Young Thug / YSL trial. This hire has raised serious concern about the team's leadership and decision-making. Gaither's involvement in that highly publicized case was riddled with questionable behavior, unprofessional conduct, which I see y'all talking about in the chat. She was in a relationship with one of the defendant's aunts, which is crazy. And y'all heard even during cross-examination, she was just handing her phone number out to people, having conversations with them, meeting up with them, hanging out with them. So, I mean, this is somewhat well-founded. Gaither's involvement in the highly publicized case was riddled with questionable behavior, unprofessional conduct, and ethical lapses that have left many in the community appalled. And it is baffling that such a prominent and respected organization like the Hawks would associate itself with someone whose career has been marked by such controversy. Do y'all think this letter was warranted? Let me know. Gaither's actions in the Young Thug case speak for themselves. As an investigator, she failed to demonstrate the level of objectivity, professionalism, and integrity required for such a high-stakes trial. Her testimony and conduct were widely criticized, led to public distrust and concern over her role in shaping the outcome of the case. This alone should have been enough to deter your organization from hiring her. Her mishandling of critical aspects of the case has already cast a long shadow, and now the same shadow looms over the Hawks with her involvement in your organization. God dang. It is shocking to me that the Hawks did not perform due diligence in thorough vetting her background before making this decision. A simple review of her professional history would have revealed the numerous red flags. Well, also achievements too. Y'all know she was named Detective of the Year along with Thorpe, which is interesting. Lakia Gaither has shown time and time again that her ethical compass is faulty. Yet she has been placed in the role that inherently requires trust and responsibility. How can an organization like the Hawks, which is so deeply connected to the community, align itself with someone whose professional history is filled with actions that undermine that very trust? The hiring of Gaither is not a misstep. It's not just a misstep. It is a fundamental betrayal of the values that the Hawks claim to uphold. Sheesh. For years, the organization has prided itself on its commitment to doing what's right, both on and off the court. But with this hire, that commitment comes into serious question. It's deeply disappointing to see the team I've supported for so long fail to understand the importance of upholding a high ethical standard, especially when the stakes are as high as they are in this situation. The damage caused by the decision extends far beyond the confines of the basketball court. The Hawks represent something larger than sports. They represent leadership in the city, a beacon of integrity, and a symbol of community trust. By hiring someone like Gaither, the Hawks risk damaging their reputation and eroding the trust their fans, like myself, have placed in them. It's alarming that the decision was made without a full understanding of its implications. I urge you to take immediate action and reconsider Gaither's place within your organization. They want her job, man. The Atlanta Hawks should not be associated with someone who has consistently shown poor judgment and unprofessional behavior. This is an opportunity for the organization to correct its course and reaffirm its commitment to the principles of fairness, integrity, and responsibility. I hope you will reflect on the values that you have defined the Hawks for I hope you will reflect on the values that have defined the Hawks for so long and make the right decision for the future of the team and its relationship to and within the community. Wow. Now, of course, a lot of people saw this. A lot of people had a lot to say about this letter being sent, some on both sides of the coin, which I want to know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Was this fair? Was it overboard? I don't know. Ashley Merchant, though, as y'all know, she was working on the Trump trial that is being tried by Fani Willis and is on hold at the moment. And now she's dealing with Fani Willis in some of the public hearings and the public trials that have been going on with her misconduct as well. Anyway, of course, Ashley Merchant had something to say on it. She said, "This is awesome. This is how to make change in a system that doesn't want to be exposed." Dang. Ashley Merchant was happy about it. I'm going to save my opinion for the comments. I want y'all to let me know what you think about this. Was it fair? Was it unfair? Do you think Detective Gaither is going to lose her job with the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, this letter was very, very well written, and shout out and congratulations to the Black law student for doing some good work. Y'all let me know what you think. Yeesh. Going after somebody's job is that's a lot. I mean, that really is. They're trying to get this lady fired, which is crazy. Let me see what y'all are saying. Let me go to the comments. And Gabby Gab said, nah, what you think, ClassE? I think I'm going to read y'all's comments and then I'll tell you what I think. Fine. Mr. Spiffy says, was it okay for her to be rude to the defense? She must have forgotten. This case is nationally televised. Shaking my head. Greg says, again, people have been fired for less, sir. Very true. Shay says, Karen thing to do, but I'm okay with it. Shay is on that petty train. Man. I see you. Adrian says, hold redirect as she redirects for Dage, and Paige is letting this happen. So 2 females, excuse me, ragging on the attorneys because they can. Let's see. KL says accurate and fair. B Morris says love want no smoke with Witty Whitaker. Michi says woohoo, that was fair. Dang, y'all want her gone. I agree. They should have sent the Hawks should know about her conduct. Well written letter. Wow, the person didn't hold back. Oof. Yellowbug says think about the people in prison for corrupt. Comic says absolutely fair. Greg says 100% fair. Gabby Gab says it's perfect. Let's see. Jay Pauly says ClassE on X has the green snake or maybe the rubber duck. Little D can't see. I forgot I had the snake on my X profile. I guess I gotta change that, huh? Dang. Why'd you have to point that out, Jay? He said, is ClassE YSL? No, I've got the snake and the brain emoji. That's for the Mamba mentality. Rest in peace to Kobe. But I guess I gotta rethink that, huh? Miles says very unfair. Okay, Miles, you're one of the few people that said it was unfair. You gotta let me know why you think that. Let me see what y'all are saying. Mr. Brown says, yes, fire her. And the words used in the letter are fire and on point. Tamika says, whoever wrote that letter, great job. They did a great job. Breezy said, it's fair game. If she conducts herself like that in court, I can only imagine how she acts at the game. She is probably hella rude to folks. Great point. MBC, because I always mispronounce your name, says, it's not about being fair. It's about voicing one's professional opinions. Great point. Scott says it's a lot to frame somebody for a RICO. Greg says she made this an issue with her conduct during and after the case. Gabby Gab says, you got to be kidding me. She goes after people's lives with lies. Cook this big back now. Vonnie says, congratulations, Black law student. Very well written. I agree. What else are y'all saying? What else? Shout out to Cordray says, I mean, the Hawks need celebrities to come to the games and have concerts there. So who else? What else are y'all saying? I missed. Oh, here we go. Loa says, if she's high up in a security type position, I don't know if I would trust her there if I owned the team, especially finding out she didn't want to perform her responsibilities as a cop either. Uh-oh. That's a great point. Ryan says 100% fair. Comic says, I believe someone should really dig into the files Gaither destroyed and her relationship with Love and Fanny and Lil D's auntie. Okay, here we go. It's Madeira. Okay, Madeira. I got it in there. I got it, Madeira. I got it. Kissin' Pink says, I just wished he used Jeffrey Williams instead of Young Thug. Oh, that's a good point. Right here, he said, in the Young Thug YSL trial. Yeah, but everybody knows him as Young Thug, so I get it. And yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. Denise says right is right and wrong is wrong. And Cherie says, what does the green snake represent? Forgive me, I don't know. It represents slime. Yellowbug says her conduct is not becoming for a family team to support her rudeness and corruption. And then shout out to Robert J from becoming a member. Appreciate you. Madeira, I got it. It's in there. Greg says there's no way she can hide at a Hawks game. People are trying to say things to her, and I bet she will flip out. Yeah, she was definitely on the stand. She was definitely showing like some emotional immaturity. It's like not being able to keep it together. So personally, what I think when I first saw this, my first response was, all right, guys, like really, do we need to go this far? I think the letter was well written. But I also think I don't see how this could necessarily affect her job, her behavior in this case. Now, if you want to look at it from the professional side, I will agree. From a professional standpoint, it was just a bad look. And then the Hawks went all the way out of their way to do this with the big announcement. She's been on First 48, so she's a public figure. So in that sense, I would have to say I agree with it. The letter was needed. It was a bad look. She didn't even want to be shown on camera, but we knew who she was. So if you're someone who the Hawks are propping up as someone who's a member of the Hawks team, then you got to be held accountable. Same thing with me. Somebody sees something, hold me accountable. I'm essentially a public figure, and they could put out whatever they needed to. So I'm gonna agree with most of y'all. At first I was like, it's a little too much, but I don't see a problem with it. Now, what I do have a problem with, and what I think is unfair and just as unprofessional, is this response from Ashley Merchant. I think this was completely unnecessary. Like for Ashley Merchant to go on here and celebrate and be like, yeah, expose her. I don't think it's needed. I think it's unprofessional. And honestly, she should have stayed out of it, because Ashley, how is it going to affect your life? And realistically, if Detective Gaither loses her job, it's not that. So this seemed a little personal. I don't like this look from Ashley Merchant. I think she should have just let it go. But overall, Black law student, very well written letter, very well done. I think they did a good job. All right, what do y'all think? I know I'm gonna have to rethink my Hawks season tickets, huh? Dang. I'm gonna see Gaither over there. I'm gonna be like, I know what you're doing. Yellowbug said, who is Ashley Merchant? She is all up in. She has been involved in the Trump case that was indicted by Fannie Willis, and now she is involved in a lot of the misconduct that happened during the Trump trial when Fannie Willis was presiding over it. Right now, everything's on hold. So Ashley Merchant, she came in, she was defending a lot of really trying to hold Fannie's feet to the fire when it came to some of the things that she was doing during this trial. Her relationship with Nathan Wade, how she was spending money, how she was getting money. And now they're going through the process of trying to hold Fannie Willis accountable. And Ashley Merchant has been at the forefront of that. Now, you also got to see her briefly in the YSL trial when Judge Glanville held Brian Steele in contempt. She is actually a member of Gaither, which is a group of lawyers that help defend other lawyers. And she came with several other lawyers to the courtroom when Brian Steele was held in contempt and defended Brian Steele in front of Judge Glanville. Essentially, or eventually, as we know, Brian Steele's contempt went before the Georgia Supreme Court, and they ruled that it wasn't fair. And then Judge Glanville ended up getting recused as a result of that. But Ashley Merchant was there in the YSL trial briefly, just telling Judge Glanville, hey, you need to do the right thing. Glanville said, nope, I'm gonna do whatever I want to. So Yeah, Ashley Merchant, she's around. She's up in here. She does a great job. Excellent lawyer. One of the lawyers that I enjoy hearing and watching in court, because she just is an excellent communicator and does a really good job of asking questions, of redirecting. So you should definitely go check out some of the hearings she's been involved in too. She does a good job. Shout out to Madeira for becoming a member. I got it in there, Madeira. D is in the building. Good to see you, D. I appreciate you. Yeah, and Madeira says, I agree on your merchant opinion. Tit for tat ain't cool. I mean, Ashley, just like let it be. You can like the tweet and then just keep it moving. I think that was unprofessional on her part. Gabby Gab says, I love Ashley too. She does not play. Yeah, she's a beast for sure. All right, y'all. I had one more thing I wanted to cover, but I think I'm gonna get y'all up out of here. We're gonna take an early lunch today, like Judge Whitaker. If y'all could do me one favor, two favors actually. First thing is like the video on your way out. It's free and it really does help the channel grow. Second thing is, as soon as I end this, you guys are going to be redirected over to Kat Not Williams. She is actually live right now. Make sure you go over there and tell Kat Not Williams that Classy Beats sent you, or you can drop the hashtag redirect gang in the chat. Make sure you like the video as soon as you go over there too. We're going to be live tonight for Song of the Night Live. If you like some music from independent artists, make sure you tap in with us tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a good time. We're going to hear some great music, have a good time in the chat, and you guys will get an opportunity to participate and decide who's going to compete in next week's Versus Challenge. It's going to be a fun premiere tonight. Got some news that I'm going to share of things we're going to be doing moving forward on the show. And we'll be back here on Monday. Hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Thank y'all for all the support and love that you've shown to this community. We're continuing to grow so fast. We just hit 63,000 subscribers here, and we're continuing to grow. I'm dropping some videos tonight and over the weekend. So I'll see y'all there. You know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace.